We are back, baby.
Back and better than ever. Let's freaking go.
We're here.
I'm so excited. I was just telling Dawson how excited I am to finally be doing this again after like 5 weeks we figured out.
5 weeks off. I think we talked about it. We talked about it leading up to this. Not that we plan to have a 5 weeks break of this, but
yes,
we have, and we're coming up on the last week, so this is week 6 right here. In 6 weeks, we had 17 shows. In 12 of those days, in one of those runs, we were completely on the other side of the country. So it's just been nonstop.
Yeah.
So, and we
since the last podcast, we've been all the way up as far as North Dakota and Minnesota and Ohio, and now we've gone to New York, and we're about to head to Pennsylvania. Like, we've just been everywhere, man.
Yeah. So we knew this was all coming. We knew it was coming for just not even just with the podcast, but just with our lives of like, we talked about like Maxwell's, bachelor party, and I was
as soon as we hit done recording on this, I'm literally grabbing my book bag and dipping out. I'm straight to Maxwell's party after this is done.
Yeah,
it's funny. We've tried to record like 3 times already.
Yeah,
like 3 different weeks we have tried to record, and our schedules never lined up. And it's not that this week's any better. We just got lucky that we both had a block.
We're still
of
a
time
day late.
Today.
Day late.
Yeah.
Well,
still a day late.
Actually, you can't say it's a day late. NASCAR is a day late. So technically, this is the day after the race.
Yeah.
So never mind.
Barely on time.
Never mind. We're not going to even say we're not a day late. We're right on it for this week's race.
We're just $1 short. We're right on time. But just that $1 short.
We stay $1 short.
Damn straight.
But yeah, just August. I mean, like we had already. So like throughout the year, we have a old fashioned calendar. We also have the one on the phone, but like the old fashioned calendar, and just like put in where I'm going to be, and then Lindsay has like these. She works like she's off every other Friday. The way she gets it's like I think like 44 hours one week, 36 the next, so it like equals 40 every week, So she's off every Friday, and she puts in like her off days when she has appointments and this, and then we put in where I'm going to be, and then some of the routes or whatever. And we've known for months ago that I was only going to be home for like 9 days in August total. 9 days total. It doesn't count the last 2 weeks of July. So like 9 days total. So I'm having to miss Maxwell's bachelor party because I have a week, I have rights all this week, and then we leave again, and then I have rights all next week. So it's been nuts. It's
absolutely been nuts. And in the meantime, I'm planning a wedding that we're literally going to have in 2.5 weeks.
Yeah. So
we're in the crunch time for our wedding. I've also got to do a bunch of stuff when we get off the road to go do merch, and every time I do that, it's like a 3-hour process. Yeah. So it's like every single time we're home, we get Sunday to relax and watch the race. And Monday, I'm running around doing all sorts of stuff for the wedding. Dawson's doing all sorts of stuff for the house. Then the next day comes, and I'm doing all sorts of running around for merch. Dawson's doing a bunch of stuff for his stuff, too. And just trying to find the time to fit in. I know it only takes an hour to talk, but it's an hour you can't get anything else accomplished, and it's just hard to find time to do that.
Yeah,
this month in particular.
We talked, it was last week or one of these weeks this has all happened. I think it was after the 2-week run. But like when you're not home for 2 weeks and then you leave again, literally you get back on Sunday and you leave on Wednesday for bus call, you have to fit 2 weeks of the stuff you missed out on and didn't get done, all this at the house, and just your life in general, not just at your house, just in general in life. You have to fit 2 weeks worth of stuff in 3 days.
Absolutely.
So it's
even funnier on top of that, like real life stuff just happens in the background. Like in the process of between our recordings, I've had my steering rack on my mower go out that I had to completely gut and replace. And then we had a sidewall blow on one of our truck tires.
Yeah.
So I had to find a time to get the truck over to the shop to get new tires put on it. It's just like life happens whether you are here to live it or not.
Yeah, my truck just never ran at all. So my truck's just been in the shop for, dude. My truck was in for how long? Because I was gone so much, and then I'm having to go back and forth. My truck was in the shop for it felt like a month, no joke. Literally sat over there for like a month because I could not go get it.
That's the exact same thing with that steering on that mower. It really, I could have gotten it done in a day, but it took me about 3 weeks because I got to work on the first half of a day, one day, and then it took me 2.5 weeks to finally find time to come back and finish the mower.
Yeah.
It was unbelievable.
It makes me laugh. Obviously, because of work, I'm a list guy. Like, I like to just have my list of, like, everything that I need to get done, because if not, like, something will slip out of my, like, if it's not all, like, written down out, I'm going to forget one of the things. And then anytime I go to the grocery store, anytime I'm home, like, whatever, I have a list of, like, all the stuff I need to get done. Every Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday that we've gotten, like, after that week, and then, like, this week, my lists all have, like, 12 to 14 things on them that are all just have to get done. And it's just like, holy cow. It's really insane, honestly. But after next week, our lives go back to normal, relatively.
Well, mine will go back to normal on September 8th.
Yeah, your wedding is, so yeah. See, you're not as stressed out as me, I don't think. So you're coming across as not as stressed about all that as I was.
It's hard to really be stressed about it. I've got enough stress on the road that honestly I get all my cortisone out of the way. And Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, I don't have any left over to bring home.
Yeah, that was something. I've kind of, I talked. You were buying your house on the road. I bought my house on the road, and then Bud last week. Bud, our guitar tech, he bought a house literally on the road last week. He used his sister.
Got the note that his contract was going through
to go check it out and everything. He trusts his sister. So, like, we have to do. I don't know. You got to buy a house on the road. You got to plan a wedding on the road. You got to just do things remotely and on the computer or whatever. I don't know. It's just interesting stuff you just got to get used to when you're gone a lot.
Oh, without a doubt. And it's not like your job slows down to allow you that. Like, your guys help each other out if you need it, but still, everybody's got their job to do, and so you're having to do all your normal job on top of doing all that stuff. I remember sitting on the phone for 2 hours when I was supposed to be setting up merch, putting our contract on our house.
Yep.
And then having group phone calls with wedding vendors and all sorts of stuff while we're out there, and getting text messages constantly with pictures. What do you think of this? What do you think of this? And it's like, dang, I'm working a 14-hour day, but every minute that you thought you might have a break, you have to answer some sort of question for somebody.
Yeah,
so it's just exhausting.
Week. Like, and everybody knew, like you were talking about, kind of like picking up slack. Not that anybody was like picking up slack this past week, but like we're getting ready to do sound check and stuff like that. And Bud's like, I got to take this call. Like, I got to go right now. And it's like everybody gets that, because not just us, all these guys that have been on the road, if you work on the road in general, you have probably bought a house or planned something major in your life while you were on. Everybody's done it. And so it's like, yeah, Bud, go take the phone call. You gotta, don't be gone all day, but like go grab the phone call.
But it's what you gotta do
with the realtor and make sure your money goes through and all, all that stuff. It's just been, I don't know, it's just been crazy. But I've said it to you, I know, and I've talked to Lindsay. It's like we knew this 6-week span was just gonna be crazy. We just knew that all year, pretty much. We've known all year it was just gonna be nuts, and then. Yeah, it slows down a little bit. You get married. Good thing you're getting married after this.
Yeah,
because like you get married after this crazy run, and then it's like we're pretty kind of stretched out, I would say, for the next couple months.
Yeah, there's only 5 shows in September. So
4.
The weekend
4.
after,
1 got canceled.
Oh yeah, one
only
got
4.
canceled. So yeah, we get married, then we have 2 shows on, and then we have like another week off, and then we have 2 shows on, or something weird like that.
I think it's y'all get married, 2 shows, then 2 shows, and the last week of September is off, I believe.
That's why I keep telling everybody September 8th is when my stress level will go from like at the tip top of the ball point on the top of my hat to down to my damn toes. I'll be like, nothing's the matter anymore.
Yeah.
So it's been wild. It's been crazy, but I'm really excited to get back to doing this. It's been a long time since we did it, and I've just been missing it. Just getting able to talk about it. I felt a little out of the loop. I haven't been able to pay attention to NASCAR as much. Mostly because it was a 2-week break, but also just in general with everything we just talked about. So
yeah,
it's fun to like do this again.
I'm right there with you, and there's a lot that I want to talk about. That we're going to talk about Michigan this week, but there's a lot that I want to talk about over the last few weeks that I really want to dive into.
I mean, how much everything has just been racked up and changed around and silly season stuff this and both of our drivers getting a win since we last done the podcast. Like, a lot's gone down.
It has. So, where do you want to kick it off at? Michigan? Start with this week?
Might as well. Let's just get in the groove of it and start off in Michigan. See where we end up. With old Tyler Reddick getting his second win of the year after 3 runner-up finishes and a third-place finish at Richmond the week before. Man, I mean, dude, 23-11 at Michigan's a dangerous team.
Since, I think it's Darlington at when Reddick, we're talking about a long time ago, Darlington in the spring. It's like a span of like 11 races. Tyler Reddick has only finished out lower than 8th one time, and it was Iowa.
Damn. What a stat.
He has like an average finish of like 3.6.
He's like what William Byron is at the beginning of the year is Tyler Reddick in the middle of the year.
Something else that I wanted to bring up was William Byron, and we've talked about it on here a million times. He is not a summertime guy.
No, he's not. And it's hilarious how predictable it is.
He disappears.
It's so wild. He almost managed to break that streak right here, but missed it by one spot.
Yeah, he comes out and just lights it up, man, to start out these seasons. It's happened like 3 years in a row. He lights it up. He wins freaking 3 to 5 races right off the rip and then disappears for the summertime.
Yeah, I don't know what it is about him that does that.
Me neither.
Maybe it has something to do with the fact that he's probably iRacing in his off time. Like, maybe he stays on. I don't know how much that translates. I've never iRaced before, and I've never raced a real race car before.
This is what he's doing.
God dang. Maybe he gets his mind off of it. But it's weird. It's almost like when they get back in the car, when everybody else is knocking some rust off, he just doesn't have any. And then once it gets settled into the regular season, everybody else is back on top. Williams' youth kind of comes out, and all the older heads are starting to beat him and do some different things that he's not able to keep up with or something. I don't know. Maybe he just prefers having colder racetracks. Maybe he just drives better on them.
Maybe so. But there's something about it. It's something. It happens too often for it to not be a thing. So it just is what it is. I saw a graph of like his years every year. And it is so funny. He starts out with all his finishes. You can't see my hand. His finishes are all up here, and then summertime hits, and then it comes back up, but not as high as it was up at the start of the year. In the graph, you can almost lay them on top of each other for the past 3 seasons, and they're almost identical. It also could be in the summer stretch. Those aren't William Byron's tracks. Like just in general, like the tracks he races well at are the ones that start the season out.
Yeah,
that's just kind of like Christopher Bell and Ryan Blaney race better at the end of the year because those are like their tracks. I don't know, but
that's a good point.
Something's up with it, in general. But yes, Willie B. He got second. Did he finish second yesterday?
Yeah, almost got it on that first restart. If Chastain hadn't tank slapped it all the way from here to Alabama, he would have had it.
He never let off the gas. I listened to the in-car audio. He never let off the gas. Just trying to keep that car from not getting stuck in that wet grass down there. He just stayed in the gas.
I hated it for him, man. It was a really wild like those 2 overtime restarts did a lot for a bunch of different guys. One of them being Bubba Wallace and Chastain, with Chastain wrecking. It took like a 20 something point buffer and dropped him all the way down. Yeah, something's wrong with Dawson's thing real quick. So we're just going to continue on here for a little bit. We're going to try to get Dawson rejoined in to the pod. Dawson just dropped out. But let's see. That was strange. Yeah, let me. I think we are. Let's see. Sorry for the technical difficulties, folks. Technology's great till it isn't. Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me? Weird. Maybe try refreshing your page and just coming out and coming back in. Well, anyways, while Dawson figures his life out, we're just going to sit here and look at what did happen with Ross Chastain and Bubba Wallace. Ended up, looks like they were right on the cut line, so it is crazy to see how much things changed when you talked about going from Ross Chastain from finishing to not finishing the way he did.
Okay.
Let's see what happens here.
Back,
you getting recorded now or what?
I am. There's nothing on here that says, like, update or anything like normal, so I'm not sure. It always tells me if there's an update. So
well, it says you're recording now.
So what happened to the first 10 minutes of this? Did it just go away?
Oh, it's fine. I think you just you stopped recording right for a second there, and we're going to sound really awkward and funny on the podcast thing. But it's fine.
I think I'm back.
Just a couple dipshits out here trying to run the internet. We're good at mechanicking.
Yeah. There was a lot of mainly when Larson wrecked. That was a wreck that involved a lot of big names and a lot of guys with playoff stuff going on. But then as the race went on, there was just a lot of big names and guys at the playoff bubble. Those were kind of the guys that had problems. Like Denny wrecked.
It's hilarious how that always happens.
It seems like that always it gets, worse at the end of the year, I guess. Like maybe because there's more eyeballs on it. I don't know if you just notice it more. But even like with Denny, even though he did rally back, I think, and finish ninth or something like that, Denny's car was never the same after he went plowing through the grass. And I think he had race-winning speed on Sunday, but then once the car, it damaged the underbody and all that. Like he just kind of, he didn't have the speed. And ninth is way better than I thought he was going to finish, and sixth is way better.
Without
than Chris
a doubt,
Buescher
when he was
after that wreck. I mean, his nose was all pushed in and stuff. So I really thought he was done, and then he came back to a sixth, which was very surprising.
Yeah, there's a couple of great comeback stories, and you're damn right. Whenever that Denny Hamlin incident happened, I was shocked, but that set the stage for how the rest of the race was going to go, because you had multiple guys wrecking just like that. You had Martin Truex, someone with just as much experience, wrecks out from a really good spot, just kind of on his own in a way. And I still couldn't tell if a tire went down there or what happened.
Is that the one at the very end?
Then you had the three, Then you had the three guys all blowing tires at the exact same time after their green flag stops. That was wild. Unrelated, but still wild issue. You had all those other guys. Corey LaJoie's doesn't really count in this because that was kind of just an idiot move all the way around, and I think we'll get to that in a little bit more detail later.
I have a lot to talk about Corey LaJoie. And me and you've had some great Corey LaJoie conversations over the past few weeks. I want to bring those conversations that we've had in the truck to here.
Oh yeah, but that whole Larson thing just set the Denny thing set the tone for how the rest of that race was going to go. Larson spins out the same way and involves a lot of guys. It was just crazy how you take these cars and you put them on a track that is that fast. It both points out how good these cars are at driving on those high speeds because their aerodynamics are so good as individuals, and as soon as you put them around a bunch of other cars, now it's the dynamics of how the dirty air and the clean air work together on your car. How when you start getting a little bit sideways, there's no side force at all pushing you back in and not enough grip from the tires to catch the car. It just shows how difficult it is right now, but also kind of how silly it is that these cars are the way that they are. Because you got guys with the most experience and the best race car drivers on the circuit are the ones that are wrecking out, and I think it's because they're the ones that are the most fearless to put the car in an uncomfortable position, and there's just no ability to read what's going to happen and nothing you can do about it. So it's almost just like you're playing chicken with the edge when it used to be you were playing with the edge itself, and you could kind of overstep it and still correct it, and you just can't do it.
Yeah, you nailed it there. Those are the guys. There's no reward for being aggressive like that anymore. It doesn't seem. And we've known since this first race at California a few years ago, there's no there's no like living kind of right there and letting the car hang out. It's either you have grip or you don't have grip. And when you don't have grip, you're going to wreck. And it's just either all the grip in the world or no grip at all. And I think that has a lot to do with the tires and these cars. Like with the sidewall, you don't have as much sidewall to give off of. So it's just, I don't know if it's good or bad. I don't know, but it is. There's no like saving a car anymore, or like getting a little loose and grabbing it. You know what I mean? Like you're just gonna spin.
There really isn't, and especially when you're going 200 miles an hour with a 20-mile-an-hour wind telling you.
I did enjoy seeing the speeds this weekend. It's been a long time since I've seen Cup cars going. There was at one point Chase Elliott got clocked 209 in turn 1. And I was like, that felt
badass.
Good. That felt good. I feel like I don't even think. I feel like to me, like even at Michigan and these bigger tracks, you know, even in years past with this car, it hasn't been like that, you know, that fast. And I don't know. It just was cool to see a Cup car at 209 miles an hour again.
Oh, it's awesome. And you know, the wildest part about it is they were just racing each other's doors off. I mean, just chopping each other coming out of the corners and doing little swoop-de-woo motions coming out. The craziness with which they raced, you would have thought they were going 190 or lower because they had way more confidence than I would have assumed that some of them would have at 205 to 209 miles an hour. Like, my God, some of those moves they were making were just so scary. And then they just make them work. And somebody has to cut somebody else slack.
It was also mind-blowing to me to see how slow two cars were side by side compared to a car that was by itself.
Holy crap, man!
Look, they had them. They looked like
it was crazy.
Put them in park. It was that drastic. You saw it with the Bubba Wallace pass. You saw it with the Kyle Larson pass. Even before Bubba did it, it was just like
Chastain shooting the middle in 1 and 2 that one time later on in the race.
Just wild how slow. Like Bubba even said he looked up because he thought like the caution came out. They were going so slow.
Yeah, he was like, "What the? Why am I going so much faster than these guys?" God dang, yeah, that was crazy, and it was just kind of funny. We even got a text from Steven. He was like, "I love all these drafting passes because it's like crazy what they're able to do whenever they get in the wake of somebody else and can slingshot around them." And it's like, yeah, that's just side drafting at its finest right there. It's just slowing both of the damn cars down. Nobody can go anywhere.
So drastic. I mean, I guess it was so drastic because the track is so fast, but it was wild to see on TV. It looked crazy how slow they were going when they got side by side.
Oh, no damn doubt about it, man. It was absolutely nuts to see.
So, did you think like overall it was a good race?
Oh, hell yeah. It was a great race.
I thought the racing...
Because there was strategy in it. That what you did with your tire strategy mattered. How much gas you packed in mattered. It had a little bit of everything. It wasn't all reliant on fuel strategy like it has been in the last couple intermediate tracks. You didn't have anybody...
Thank God, because that's all we're going to hear about
able
this weekend at Daytona is saving gas.
Oh, yeah. Saving gas. But the one thing that I love, too, is that if you put on 2 tires, it wasn't the trump card that has worked out in someone like Ryan Blaney's favor so many times, where they put on 2 tires and are able to go hundreds of laps and still have enough speed to stick it out in front of somebody. If you took 2 tires, it may work for a little bit, but you can't hold on to it. If you put on 4 tires, it sent you to the back, but you were faster than other guys with a tire deficit on you. So it was really neat to see all that and strategy really coming into play. And there was like 2 to 3 really solid strategies that everybody was kind of working with. And it was just seeing who was going to come out with the best one by the end. It was awesome. A lot of adversity for the leaders and a lot of it for playoff drivers. Like, just really cool race all in all. I enjoyed the hell out of it. It was
kind of just had like all the little nuts and bolts that you would want in a race. And you kind of just never really knew what was going to happen until the end, which was nice.
Definitely. And one thing I really loved about the end was that the car that should have won without any stupid stuff going down is the car that ended up winning. So he still had to go out there and earn it. And I'm not saying that I'm not a fan of overtime restarts and this and that, like people will be freaking out about. Just genuinely loved that he had to go back out there and earn it, and not only had to earn it once, had to re-earn it twice. So
I think
it was cool to see it, and then he ends up getting that win.
I think this would have put this race would have got a sour taste put in everybody's mouth if Reddick wouldn't have won this race. Because
if Byron comes out and wins that.
And so just everyone was freaking out about the Truex caution. I cannot comment too much on it because I did not see it live. Like I haven't seen like how the race was playing out when the Truex caution went down. But I don't know. What do you think? Should the Truex thing been a caution?
Gosh. That's one of those where there's precedent on both sides that I don't know what information they have up in the tower. Do I think they could have gotten away with not putting it out? Absolutely. I think they could have totally gotten away with not putting it out. The race was playing out very naturally. Reddick was going to win the race. They were already talking about it with 10 laps to go. I mean, it wasn't like they were waiting until 2 or 3 to like really start calling it. Everybody knew who was winning that race. So to see the Truex caution come out for such light contact, the only reason that I think, yes, it was okay was one, because it's at an awkward angle to the tower where he basically hit the wall when he was looking directly at the tower. So there's not really a whole lot of angle for them to take a look and see what's going on there. Their view is a little bit obstructed. They're having to go off of a turn 3 or a turn 4 spotter to make that call and to tell them whether or not they should put it out. But when you've got cars that are going 205 to 209 miles an hour, if there's even a possibility that Truex is going to cut a tire and drive down into a bunch of traffic, he put out debris on the track. It's one of those, like, yeah, you hate to see it if you're Reddick. And maybe it was something they would have let go if it was earlier in the race and they could keep an eye on it. It was like a lap car or somebody that was back in the back of the pack. But you're talking about a guy at the very front. So if there is any debris or anything that happens because of that wreck, he's got 90% of the field that still has to go through that same area that he hit. So I think I can see why they did it. Do I also think it was a little bit fortuitous on NASCAR's behalf to throw it because it created an overtime restart? Absolutely. I definitely think that thought had to have gone through their mind. But I think this one was a little bit more justified than just a light hit because you're going 200 miles an hour.
I guess
it's a little different.
I'm on the fence because I just wish there was still more consistency with cautions, because you have Cindric in the same race that gets nails the wall and completely sideways. And I mean, I don't know. That wasn't a caution. You know what I mean? That just blew my mind during the race that wasn't a caution. And it kind of blew my mind that it took so long to call the caution on the Corey LaJoie thing. And even Denny Hamlin's spotter, he says, like, they haven't seen it. Like, I don't think they saw Corey LaJoie flip immediately. I don't think that was like, I think a car was like spinning. You know what I mean? I don't think it was like, oh, he flipped over, because they didn't realize he was on his lid. They just saw it as a spin, and it was just, and that's just is what it is. I mean, if you can't see the car, you know what I mean? Like, you can't see it, you can't see it. But I kind of thought it was funny though that Denny's spotter was like, they don't know what happened, they can't see it, they keep in it, it's green. And I was like, because they're showing the onboard camera. I mean, and Denny was 50 car lengths back from where this was, so he had a clear view of the 7 going down, and you can see him flip over and everything, and But I just wish there was still some more consistency. I mean, I just feel like at the end of a race, dude, they want a caution so bad.
They do.
It kind of just drives me
I'll
a little
agree
nuts.
with that.
Like, it's like, boom. I mean, there he is. Spin, touch the wall, boom, there, caution. It's like, damn, y'all with 10 to go, their fingers is a centimeter away. It's like
it's hovering.
The first thing, and it's like, caution. And we've been seeing that for
I
a little while.
I totally see that. Yes, and that is so true. And I agree with you. I would love to see more consistency in the calls. The one thing they've got to worry about, though, is just treading that line. Is like, if you're calling that as a caution in stage 3 with 10 to go, why aren't you calling that in stage 1? But then also, why should you call that at all? Because if we're going to call a caution every time somebody hits the wall in the middle of a corner, we're barely going to get any green flag racing in. There's
then
guys on the wall all the
damn time. It just needs to be that way.
You got to have like a line somewhere.
And that's one of the things like Freddie Crafts always preaches. A caution is a caution. Like, if a caution is a caution. If it's not going to be one this way, it's not one this way. If it is one this way, then it is one this way. I was at the Atlanta race when the 34 and the 24 wrecked like absolute hell. Stuff is everywhere. They're spinning. I mean, their cars are smashed up at the entrance of pit road, and they don't call the caution because they're in the middle of a pit cycle. I thought that was the biggest horseshit situation I've seen in quite a while, and I know everybody else freaked out about it.
Yeah, that's just dangerous.
But it's like, that's a caution. That's 100% a caution. It doesn't matter if a caution comes out. It doesn't matter if it's in overtime or if there's less than 10 to go, if they're in a pit strategy, if they're in a pit cycle, if it's on lap 1 or if it's on lap 200. It doesn't matter. A caution is a caution, or a caution is not a caution.
And
just let it, like, you got to pick one way or the other. You can't, in my mind, you cannot have a caution for Truex when Cindric's wreck was way worse. Cindric was completely sideways, like you're talking about sliding down the track. And you have a point of like 90% of the field's coming because Truex running up front, but still, it doesn't matter if there's 3 cars coming or 33 cars coming. I think if a car is completely sideways and wrecking like that, and you're going to call it, you're going to no call it the first time, no call it the second time. If you call it the first time, if they would have called that Cindric caution a caution, no one would have said anything about Truex being a caution, I don't think, because you said they're calling that consistently, and that's what's
they've already stated that this would be a caution.
Set the precedent that this is a caution today. And I hate that it has to be a day-by-day case, but it is. And it's like that. There's no
there will always be a little bit of that,
even in the same race, which drives me nuts.
Yeah, there's always going to be a little inconsistency no matter who's reffing it. That's true of any sport. But we're definitely in an interesting situation where our sport literally comes to a halt if there's anything that happens on the racetrack. And so it's not like football where the play was going to end naturally within 2 or 3 seconds of it starting. Like, you're talking, we could be going for an entire hour and a half nonstop and then suddenly have a caution thrown out that stops the race and completely changes the dynamic of it. So it puts a lot of and it puts a lot of pressure on the guy that's in charge of calling the caution. Like, do you call it or do you not? It's tough. I'm not going to say that I envy being in that position, but they've got a lot of people in their ear. It's not just the race car drivers and the race teams that they have to answer to, but it's TV, it's NASCAR ownership, and all sorts of different factors play into it. And if you really think that the race teams have the most control, it's kind of what I tell people at Travis Tritt concerts. I'm at the merch stand. I'm literally as far as humanly possible away from the artist right now. What makes you think that I have any control over anything that goes on behind that stage? Same thing for the race teams. The people that are in the race director's ear are not the race teams. It's the NASCAR officials and TV partners. Those are the guys that are in the booth with them that can influence those decisions in a lot more of a direct way. So you're always going to have to err on the side of, are they throwing that because it's a legitimate racing issue, or are they throwing that because TV really needs a commercial break here and wants an exciting finish?
And that's something else. This just goes straight. You could throw this right back into Elton Sawyer's face, what I'm about to say. His exact excuse at Indy when Ryan Preece wrecked was that they thought he'd get the car going because it was such a big track. Michigan's a huge track. Why did you wait a whole entire lap at Indy, but in this situation you throw it immediately? It's just, there's no consistency. And I feel like that consistency's gotten so much worse over the last, kind of since like,
it really has.
Since David Hoots was the race director for so long, so it was consistent with what he thought was cautions and what he considered how a race should be done. You know what I mean? He was the race director. He's been the race director my whole entire life up until he retired recently. And then now, supposedly the excuse is there's a race director for Cup, Xfinity, and Truck, So you can't compare those. That's what they say. You can't compare those. But then also they bring in other people to train in case someone's sick or has a wedding or a funeral or whatever. They can all flip-flop and intertwine. That's great and all to have a couple guys ready to go. But damn, I just think that consistency of having that same person in there every single weekend, that was very beneficial for the sport to have.
Yeah.
Because then he's the one that answered the questions every single time. Elton Sawyer has to answer the questions, but the best part is Elton Sawyer's not the one that's putting his finger on the button. He's answering questions.
He's the director of competition.
The race director. I don't even know who it is nowadays. I have
no clue.
It changes so often. Like the guy that's making that call, Elton Sawyer has to come out and give a statement about it when he's not even the one that did it. Back in the day, Hoots would come out and he would make the statements about it. And then it finally got to be, once you do something for freaking so long, that he could stand on what he thought was a caution, and it was just very consistent with what it was.
I'm gonna stand on business.
Yeah. Anyway, I didn't mean to get into such a long, drawn-out conversation about the caution, but it's
interesting to think about.
Even in the same race, even from 3 weeks ago, it's just like, Jesus, there's no consistency.
There really isn't, and it would be wonderful if we can get that in there, but I just wonder if there's just a little bit of weakness coming from NASCAR leadership and telling the race directors, like, hey, we need to get our damn crap together and do this. We need to do this right. Seems like we're just kind of flying by the seat of our pants. We're not worried about precedent. We're not worried about creating a plan going in. We're not worried about trying to solve these issues before they happen. We just react to each one as they pop up.
And I think,
which works great when you can wait till Wednesday to decide that Austin Dillon doesn't make playoffs. But it sucks when you literally have 10 feet from when something happened to when it ended to decide whether or not it warranted a caution. So flying by the seat of your pants really doesn't work in every situation and should be generally avoided, yet it feels like that's kind of how we operate these races right now. And I would love to see that tighten up.
You made a great point, though, about the leadership thing, because Dale Jr. brought this up a while back, and not even a while back. He brought this back up with the Richmond race about the official. You don't have the Mike Helton guy anymore that's there. He's not only the leader for the drivers to jump in somebody's ass, but he's also the leader for NASCAR to jump in somebody's ass. You don't have a leader. You don't have that Mike Helton guy that's there that's going to jump in someone's ass on both sides of the ball. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
On the league side and the player side. You don't have that guy. And I think you made a great point there. Like, you just need that leadership. Like, just like I said, Hoots back in the day, like, he would just stand on business. This is the call. This is what it was. It wasn't like a politician's answer, which we get a politician's answer every single week. And that's like,
without
just
a doubt,
not what it used to be. Back in the day, it was like,
we're going to do not like the
we're going to do X, Y, and Z, and I don't give a damn if you like it or not. There was no like, politician answer. That's the only way he's literally like a politician when you ask a politician a question.
He is.
And it's like, oh, man, that's brutal. That is just not what you want to hear.
I mean, that's the hard part when it comes to Elton Sawyer is I like the guy 30% of the time. Then 30% of the time, I'm not sure how I feel about it. And 30% of the time, I could not disagree more with the man. And it's just hilarious. Like, I don't mind disagreeing with you, and I don't mind agreeing with you, but what I do mind is whenever you try to play both sides of the ball and try to appeal to the fan, appeal to the teams, appeal to NASCAR, and all you end up doing is just confusing and pissing off members of all three of those groups.
Exactly. When you give an answer that all three groups are confused on and any of the three groups like can't get an answer out of, you gave a politician's answer. That is the definition of that. Like, you're just confusing everybody. You're saying a whole lot of stuff without saying anything at all. In my opinion, that's just like the way it comes across.
Yeah.
Something else. I wanted to bring this up since you kind of hinted on the...
Sorry, I got to pull out my Spud lights here because I got a free box of Spuds the other day. Raised Rowdy.
Perfect
stuff.
Okay, here's two sides of this ball right here that we're gonna talk about. Okay, so you're saying in the booth, like with Austin Dillon last week, they got 10 seconds to make a call or 10 feet to make a call on like what is a caution and what is not. They threw the caution very fast there for Denny Hamlin. So much that Denny Hamlin's wrecking like hell, but he's still considered second. That's how fast the caution got thrown there. Okay, that is what it is.
Yeah.
The worst part to me about this whole ordeal is waiting. Even though I don't give a damn if it's Wednesday or Tuesday or Monday, this whole call thing. You've never left a football game or a baseball game or any event in your life and you did not know who won that race. They could take, in my opinion, they could take
what you're saying.
Give me 5, 10, even 10 minutes to say something. I thought what the penalty was is exactly what I thought should have happened. Keep the win, but not playoff eligible. We'll talk about this later. With waiting freaking 3 days to make a call, even a day later. I don't care if they make the call on Monday. I've never liked that. I didn't like it when they encumbered wins a few years ago, and that was like a thing.
Yeah. I know that I couldn't agree more with that. That is a call that needs to be made day freaking of. I mean, if we can inspect all 36 cars within 45 minutes of that race ending, and you're telling me we can't get 3 guys to sit down, even if it's on the freaking phone, to talk about this and say, hey, we need to talk about, here's the rules that apply to this. Let's look at how this race was done. Was this stuff done within the rule book? And if it wasn't, what do we need to incur a penalty on here? All of those conversations could have happened so quick. I guarantee you they're not calling RCR and asking them questions. They're not calling Logano. They're not calling Hamlin. They're leaving all the other guys out of it. So what took so damn long? But I completely agree with that is, you know what? I would take a ruling I disagreed with 30 minutes after the race happened, but you give yourself 3 days to figure this out. I hope you know that if people don't like your ruling, they're going to really not like it, especially for the fact it took you 3 days. Because imagine if they had just put out on Wednesday, hey, we're going to fine him and we're going to take we're going to take his playoff points away. That would have enraged everyone in the entire garage and the entire NASCAR fandom. But they could have absolutely made that call day of, and people would have had a little bit less to say about it because at least they knew immediately how that result was going to happen. Yep. Yeah, they just change it all up. Never going to disqualify you. Yeah. 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 No doubt. They're just painting themselves into a corner for sure. And that's a whole system that just needs to be completely overvamped and rehauled. Just or revamped and overhauled. I don't even know. Oh man, we lost Dawson again. Dawson using that country Wi-Fi. Can't keep him logged in to save his life. Give us just another minute here, folks. Technical difficulties are the name of the game today. He should be back any minute. He was such not a fan of the playoff system that he just stopped even recording our podcast because he didn't even want to have to talk about it anymore.
I'm back.
Man, what a loser that
This
guy
is brutal.
is. Oh,
brutal.
Hey, there he is.
This is the worst. I don't know what's going on.
Yeah, this is definitely strange.
I have
don't
nothing
know what's
that
going
says
on
like
either.
it needs to be updated or anything, so I don't know. I just looked. There's nothing that needs to be updated, so I don't know what's going on.
Who knows? Maybe it's a Riverside thing that they have going on. But anyway, I completely agree with you. They're just painting themselves into a corner of just stating, we're going to take our time to make sure we come to the right answer, rather than saying we need to come up with the right answer as fast as possible. Whether or not that answer is right for everyone, I think it goes right back to what you said with the politician answer thing. They're so worried about saying something wrong to a select group of people that they refuse to say anything at all until they have a chance to, like, hey, is my science fair project okay? Hey, do you think this is going to go good? Hey, I just want to make sure that you're okay with this before I put it out to everybody. It's like, nah, man, we need those answers as soon as physically possible. I want that broadcast to have to stay on the air for longer just so we can get an answer on it. Because I think those calls should be made by the current race director and the whoever's over competition that day. Those two people need to be in the same room at the end of the race and say, are we good with that? Yep. All right, send it.
And then that'd be the end of it.
Yeah, and there is no internal review later on. There are no changing the rules, taking Austin Dillon out of the playoff bracket on Wednesday. All that does is mess with everybody who's been game planning all week long. They can't. What am I supposed to game plan for? If I'm on the cut line underneath it, then I'm focusing on qualifying and getting good stage finishes. If I'm over it, maybe I focus a little bit more on straight line speed and worry more about the end of the race. So it just changes the entire way that you have to think about your race coming up. You're messing with a whole bunch of other drivers by taking too long to decide what to do about the one.
And think about this. And under the wild chance that this appeal changes, you just raced this whole race at Michigan.
Oh, my God.
Not knowing what's going on. I don't get this
yes,
whole
I was thinking
appeal.
About that during the race.
I just don't. I do not understand the whole appeal thing. Like how I understand what an appeal is, and I understand exactly how it works. I do not understand how they can let it drag on and you race a whole freaking race without knowing. Okay, so if they put Austin just by chance, I'm not saying this is going to happen, but say he overturns it and he gets the playoffs back. Well, this whole deal looks different after this week. Completely different.
And that's just so frustrating for the fan, especially.
It just doesn't
that's
make
already
sense.
decided what they think about Austin Dillon.
It doesn't make any sense.
That's the thing, is at the end of the day, you're very right. They've put themselves in a bad situation where they don't trust their own calls enough just to say that they're the final rule. We have to have this whole arbitrating appeals board with full of lawyers outside of it to decide whether or not we followed our own rules to the point where everything happened the way that it legally should have. It's like, God dang, like, if we would just release the damn rule book to the public so everyone can see what the frick's going on, and we decided races within 10 minutes, and we made that ruling final, it would fix so many of these issues.
But the rule book is written like a politician wrote it. So there's no, say they write the rules so it leans in NASCAR's favor to the point where they can, like, under this circumstance or under this thing. So it's all loosey-goosey, so they can, like, form it to anything. There's so much gray area in all this, it doesn't make any sense. Like, it just
it's so
not
true.
even just this, but a lot of things just need to be cut and dry. Like, black and white. Either this happened or this happened. And that's just what it is.
Me as a fan, I don't care about your ownership structure. I do not care about the way in which the teams in your NASCAR, like the organization, interact with each other. All I care about is watching the race every Sunday. And when that race getting over, I know whether or not I know the winner. And I know that if the winner is a bit in question, I'm going to find out within 10 minutes what the answer is to that question, so I can get on with the rest of my life from Monday to Thursday until racing
just
comes
like
back
they
on.
do if you even in football. And I'm not I hate the guy honestly that compares racing to ball and stick sports, but I'm going to be that guy like right now. When something's under review, it could take a couple minutes to look at, or they could take as much time as they want to. There's no like time limit on how much you have to take. You know what the best thing is? TV has access to exactly what the refs are watching. The only thing they don't have access to is what the people in New York are talking to him in his headset. But the NFL has they'll bring a ref on, then like give his opinion. You know what I mean? Like they bring him on the TV screen, like in his little box.
Absolutely.
And he gives his opinion on what happened. And sometimes it goes the same way as what he said, or sometimes it doesn't. But just that's the same. This in my mind is very similar to that, if not exactly the same. Have a fucking review and let them sit there and talk about it. Give them 10 minutes and figure out what's going to happen. And then I'm talking about on the race winner and stuff like that. I don't mind that like penalties and like monetary fines and all that come out later. That's completely fine. I'm talking about race winners and playoff stuff, the fans and everybody knowing what happened the day they left that race.
Yeah, absolutely.
For a guy like you that wants to buy the diecast. Like you go to a race.
Like I don't want to buy Ryan Blaney's diecast after he wins a race just to find out 3 days later that he doesn't and I can't get it refunded.
That's like exactly what I'm saying. Like it just blows my mind that's a I don't know. It just blows my mind.
Yeah.
Something else.
It's just been a very interesting year for NASCAR officiating and NASCAR decisions, and a lot of things have been up in the air. I mean, it was charters for a while. Now it's this Austin Dillon thing, and it'll be something else.
Charters still ain't figured out.
But it's just been a very
they still ain't figured out.
Yeah, charters still. I think everybody just got tired of talking about them. But it's just been a bad year for them in the public's eye. They've made a lot of very different decisions than I think anybody else would want them to. And it's like we got to figure this out.
The first weekend, there were 6 races straight. And if you wanted to, you could have got a response on this race of why that Martin Truex Jr. caution was a caution. So you can honestly almost call this 7, but he wasn't called to make a response, so we'll take that out. Elton Sawyer has had to come out and make a response about a call on the track 6 weeks in a row. Up until Michigan.
That's wild.
6 races straight.
Good Lord.
Calls, like, he has to make a call, but, like, he doesn't make the call. You know what I mean? So that's what it's just like, why does he even come out there and talk? Like, no matter what he says, he's going to get ripped apart.
We're just going to, it's just honestly, we're getting close to almost just saying it. We just need to get somebody else in that role.
Just somebody with the balls to just be like, this is what it is. Mike Helton, you know what I mean? I hate to also be the guy that's like going back to the good old days was the best days. I'm not saying that either. All in all, as an season and the exciting, crazy stuff to happen, this year's been awesome.
Phenomenal. Loved it. Yeah. Good Lord. What? We've lost Dawson 3 times now. 3 for Dale. Oh, man. What a long podcast recording this is going to be.
This is stupid. Almost as stupid as Elton Sawyer.
Dumb. Almost, but we might actually find out the reason why this is happening before the end of the podcast rather than like on Wednesday or something.
Something else I wanted to bring this up. This is something that just
Not a Jeff Burton fan. Yeah. Oh, man. Golly. This may be an interesting one when we put it out. We'll have to just pay attention when we do. Let's see. Is there like a setting where you can like lower your quality or something? Weird. I'm trying to figure it out on my end, too. And we lost him again.
Are you there?
I'm there. You're back. All
this
right.
is ridiculous.
Heck yeah.
I apologize
Absolutely
for all
ridiculous.
of this. This is just a ridiculous thing
Just
I've
stick
ever
with us. Don't worry.
that I've ever been a
Yeah,
part
we've never
of.
had this many problems with Riverside before. We'll just have to put in a ticket on it and see what happens. But anyway, where you want to go from there? Where you want to
I want to talk
head
about
in?
Jeff Burton for a second.
Okay, yes,
okay,
Jeff Burton.
He is so scared to death of rain tires. He is so scared to death of speed. He is so scared to death of cars flipping over. I don't know how the man ever made a living racing cars and won races. He says that this is unacceptable, that this race car flipped over and all this stuff. And I just want to say, if you race cars fast, cars are going to flip over. I don't care what technology, what you do. You can do everything in the world. Racing is never going to be safe, quote unquote safe. We can make it safer, but at 210 miles an hour with 30 mile an hour winds going down the backstretch, a car is going to flip over. I don't understand the uproar.
In terms of airspeed, it was going like 220 to 230 miles an hour at that point.
That's what I read.
So, my God, that's an unbelievable amount of wind. You just have something in the back of your truck going 70, and you're almost unable to keep it in the back of the truck. We're not even going close to 200 miles an hour.
I just wanted to point that out. Like, that car flipping over was the least of my worries. It flipped over on his head.
Yeah.
He flipped over. He tumbled like 2 times, and he was perfectly fine. I just could not believe
they made such a huge
uproar.
deal out of it.
Yeah, I just could not believe that. So I just had to get that out and say that is just ridiculous. And I thought him saying that's just unacceptable was ridiculous. I thought it was unacceptable that he said it was unacceptable.
I mean, should they look into it and see if they can do something about it? Yeah,
Always.
Sure, absolutely. Do everything you can. But let's stop making it just like the end of the world every time a car flips over. I completely agree, because it seems like every time a car flips now, we just have to have a 5-minute long conversation about why it shouldn't.
And we got to make cars go slower. We got to do this.
Oh my gosh, we got to put all this extra work into figuring out why that car flipped over. I'm just like, you know what? You know why the car flipped over? Because it's going really fucking fast. That's why it flipped over.
Exactly.
And we can take a look and see what we can do about that, but I mean, what do you want to do? I mean, you got the whole underside of the car is basically a solid sheet, so that's not helping anything.
Not helping at all.
You take that off. You want to throw more flaps on it? Let's just make the whole top of the car pop off as soon as it starts getting a little sideways. Yeah. Just the whole thing just ejects.
Anyway, okay. I'm just glad we're on the same page. I just had to bring that up.
Oh, yeah. I just think it's ridiculous that they bring it up every time. We can't just dissect the flip. We can't just talk about what happened with the contact with him and Gregson. We got to talk about how dangerous it is that the car flipped over. It's like, dog, it may have been dangerous, but it looked pretty freaking cool. I wish we'd just talk about how cool it is on the broadcast and we worry about the safety off the broadcast. I was so thankful. There's nothing that I as a fan can do from my couch to make Corey LaJoie feel better about being upside down.
I'm just glad.
But I sure as shit can feel better watching it
Denny
happen.
Hamlin has so much common sense to say, I would rather flip a car than hit the wall head on. And it's like,
yeah,
it's just part of racing. It's just wrecks are part of racing. Flipping over is part of racing. Like, when you put that helmet on and get in that car, anything could happen. We know that as fans, like that's just part of it. I'm not saying it needs to be, the most dangerous thing in the world, but driving a car at 210 miles an hour down the backstretch is just not ever going to be safe. And I've said that forever.
Yeah. And, I mean, I'll give Jeff Burton a lot of credit. He was one of the very early adapters in trying to do a lot of safety stuff, so that's where his mind's at. And I get that. And he's got a son in the sport. He doesn't want to see his son get hurt. So he's got a bunch of reasons why he is that way. Yes. But he's got a bunch of reasons for why he is the way that he is. So I understand it, but I also don't want to have it thrown in my face every freaking time somebody does something dangerous on the track.
Dude, when the rain tire thing was happening, and I've talked about it on here as well, it's like, dude, every week, it's like, Jeff, lay off the rain tire situation. They're here for a reason.
Yeah.
Like,
they're doing it. It's happening. Like, get used to it.
Just chill out. Like, that's not the hill you need to die on.
Yeah. Absolutely not.
Can you tell me how long we've been recording? Because mine says 4 minutes and 50 seconds.
Exactly an hour and 30 seconds.
Okay. I was wondering how long we've been at this, so I wasn't dragging on stuff for too long.
Oh, hour and 30 seconds. So I feel like it's finally time to dissect. Since we've been talking about him being upside down, we might as well get into the Corey LaJoie thing. With him getting released from his ride.
2 Spire top 5s this weekend.
Not one earned by that man.
Not one earned by that man. Those guys, Zane.
Well, he's in the top 5 of drivers to get out of their cars. Like, he's one of the first 5 drivers to get out of his car. So
weekly.
He's got a top 5
Corey
there.
LaJoie wrecks every week.
Yeah.
Every week.
And at least he kind of admitted it. I've never flipped a race car in my whole career. I've already done it 2 times this year alone. It's like, well, at least you can recognize that.
He's just underperforming, man. Is bad. I just wonder how bad he's been. How long? What am I trying to say? If you had a different driver in those Spire cars recently, would they be the guys that ran 30th, or they could have been running 25th and 20th in those cars when they were really bad? You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
And this just opened it up.
He had his opportunity really opened up after Atlanta last year when he did really good. It was like all of a sudden you are on top of the world, and he's done everything he possibly can to fumble the bag along the way.
The definition of fumble the bag in the dictionary is just a picture of Corey LaJoie.
Of Corey right now. And I would be the first one to say I like Corey for who he is. I like the way that he carries himself and acts and does all these other things. But when it comes to actual racetrack performance, absolutely he has failed to deliver on every account. And what his expectations were always he always underperformed his expectations. Wasn't necessarily his fault that his expectations suddenly grew, but when the expectations grow, especially due to your team investing so much into what you have behind you, and you're not meeting them, it's time to start looking to make a change. And I think Spire is making the best possible decision that they can right now and getting rid of him, even though he still has a year left on that contract. It was just proving that keeping him in that car in 2025, the team behind him has been improving, but he has not, and their finishes have not been improving. So keeping him in there for a whole nother year, it wasn't worth their time anymore. They had diminishing returns. The more and more money they're put in, the less and less and less they're getting out. Yep. So it was time to make that change. Now, how that change gets made, I'm very intrigued to see, because we haven't really had a lot of answers on that. We know that Justin Haley is a big prospect for it, but what actually ends up happening?
Yeah, I'm very interested in that, and I just cannot believe the man's never finished in the top 10. Sorry, top 10. And you have these guys, Carson Hocevar and Zane Smith, who have come in and have multiple top 10s in these cars.
Yeah.
And
and where are you at, man? Where are you at?
That exposed Corey LaJoie. Like that exposed that was the nail in the coffin that exposed it. And you can't bring Rodney over into a sinking ship and expect him to just save the day. Literally, bring him back. So I think they also don't want to waste a year of Rodney's career. It's like,
and would Rodney stick around if he spends a whole year doing Corey LaJoie and nothing come of it? I mean, would he even stick around in that role?
Yeah, it's just there's a there's a lot that went into that decision, and I just think it's Corey. Another thing about Corey LaJoie. Corey LaJoie has never won a NASCAR sanctioned race. Ever.
Yeah. Not once. Not even once.
And he might just need to take the John Hunter Nemechek approach, take a big pay cut, and go win some races. Because winning races in the Truck Series is going to do a hell of a lot more for you than wrecking and running in the back every week in the Cup Series.
Yeah, 100%.
And so that's where I just think that
100%.
needs to be. Like, if he could get a great truck ride or a great Xfinity ride or something like that. I heard someone on the podcast, I think it was Door Bumper Clear, saying that they, Junior had reached out, like Junior Motorsport. It's like,
yeah, I think it was DBC on
something
that
like that would be highly beneficial for Corey LaJoie to see what would happen. And if he goes there and wrecks a bunch of cars and stuff, then that's a tough scene. But if he goes there and dominates and wins races, like, that's what he needs to do. He needs to go win races.
He does, because he's at that point now in his career where he needs to figure it out. And I think you're exactly right. Going down to Xfinity would be a risk on his part because there are still good drivers there. But he's going to be coming in with Cup Series experience for a few different teams, but a lot of years and a lot of races. If he can't go down there and win races, it just proves the point even further that we can even lower him down into an easier series and he still can't win.
Yeah.
It just kind of exposes your talent level. And there's nothing wrong with not being as good as the people in the Cup Series, but there is something wrong with a team that keeps him around forever, not doing anything about it when it's proven over and over and over again that is the case.
Yeah.
So Corey LaJoie is the only one here that has everything to lose or nothing to lose and everything to gain by moving out and going down into those series. You're either on the way out already and it just extends your exit, or you're going to go down there and prove that, yes, I know what I'm doing. I just needed my confidence rebuilt.
Exactly. And he could go down there, win some races, and come back a completely different race car driver. All for the better.
You just never know. And I like Corey, so I want to see him stay racing in some form or fashion. And if he does go down to Xfinity, I'd probably cheer for him just to see him do well. But that only is going to last for about the first 6 months of the season. As soon as it gets about the halfway point, if things aren't going well and if he's not in like the top 5
and he's pulling a Brandon Jones
I'm gonna have
and
a
running
hard
15th
time
in points.
Yeah, I'm going to have a hard time supporting you after that. It's going to be like, dude, I can't sit back here and act like I'm a fan of somebody that's just not as good.
Is there a bigger
Sorry.
pay-to-play driver than Brandon Jones in NASCAR? Who can just hop back and forth between top-tier teams and not win with the same sponsor?
Well, for a long time, Daniel Hemrick. But
Daniel Hemrick's in the Cup Series, so you could say that. You could totally say that.
I guess I still can say that. I keep forgetting that he's still in the Cup Series.
Daniel Hemrick has a full-time Cup ride.
And I just don't even think about him ever.
You don't even know he's in races.
And that's okay.
You don't even know he's in races. You don't even know he is entered in races.
Daniel Hemrick is like the threshold on your front door. You walk over it every single day, but you never think about it.
Yeah. I just
but
the whole
that's my other example of just somebody who constantly ends up with rides he doesn't deserve. He was one win in a fluke championship. And I will call his championship a fluke.
That's what you get when it's one race.
That's what you get from a one race and it's done kind of deal.
You could
ask, a guy who's never won just wins one race and he wins the damn championship.
You could ask,
like, that's bullshit.
Half the garage, people that are involved in this sport, big fans like me and you. Like, is Daniel Hemrick an champion in NASCAR? Have to be like, I don't know. You have to think about it. You'd have to think about that win in that situation. You'd have to think about that.
By the letter of the law, yes. But by everything that goes on in my heart, absolutely
Exactly.
not.
No one's racing.
That was Austin Cindric's championship, and it got just taken from him with a late race restart. We're on a wild tangent now, but I'm here for it.
It blows my mind.
But yeah, Brandon Jones is definitely in that group of people.
Brutal.
No doubt about it. I could think of a couple others, but they never made it out of the Truck Series, so it's fine.
Well, at least Hemrick jumped around from different teams and moved up. Brandon Jones just okay, I'm going to go race for this high-end race team, and I'm going to go over here. to this other high-end race team.
I'm going to go to junior for a year and then come right back to the team I was going to go to. I was at before anyway.
Just like, what in the hell?
Yeah, I will never understand getting rid of it, having a driver leave you and then taking him back a year later. That just doesn't make any sense to me.
Joe
definitely
Gibbs
all
sees
money
that
related.
Menard's money.
Yeah. I mean, he loves having it. It just makes his team that much easier to run, and he can develop drivers with an extra team whenever he's getting Menard's
money and Bass Pro money is some of the biggest money in racing. And both of the people that own their respective companies, John Menard and Johnny Morris, they are both worth, I am pretty positive, both worth in the $15 billion range.
Yeah, they have FU money. And then a whole other pile of FU
People
money.
talk about Michael Jordan having a lot of money, and Michael Jordan has a lot of money, but there is no more FU money in racing than Johnny Morris and John Menard.
Yeah. And it just shows with the fact that those drivers that get behind them
it's just facts.
Always have a ride.
Yeah, it's just facts.
Wild stuff.
It is.
But anyway, I have a feeling that we've already brought him up, but that's my hack of the week for sure this week is Corey LaJoie. Hate to say
just
it,
because.
But when you're pissed off at a guy and you're both running way back in the back of the pack and you get pissed off at him for chopping you off of turn 2 and you get so mad at him that you're behind him, so obviously he's winning this chopping match. You're behind him and you come off of turn 2 and trying your damnedest to, he says side draft. He was trying to wreck him, and we all know it. He was trying to spin him down into the inside turn wall, or the inside wall, and just somehow managed to get himself in a bad position because they were still somewhat coming out of that corner and they weren't settled in yet, and he comes to side draft him, hits him, and then spins his own car over onto its lid and skates down the track. That's hack of the week material.
It is.
This absolutely, without a doubt, hack of the week material.
I've been waiting to say this hack of the week since it happened. But my hack of the period of time we have been off this podcast is Ricky Stenhouse for going into the corner at Richmond so hard and fast that you were sideways against someone you were not even racing for position to cause this wreck, to have all this craziness happen.
Yeah.
There was so much. There was a lot of punching that I wanted to talk about on here. If I was Austin Dillon, I would go punch Ricky Stenhouse right in the nose, and I would go punch Joey Logano right in the nose for almost running my family over on pit road, my wife and kids. If I was Joey Logano, I would then return that punch back to Austin Dillon for completely cleaning me out when I by far beat you on the restart. And if I was Denny Hamlin, I would also punch Austin Dillon in the nose. But there's multiple.
Oh, yeah. There's a lot of punching in the noses.
There should have been. There could have been. And it all could have started with Austin Dillon and Ricky Stenhouse. And then all the others, everybody, there's a lot of people in that deserve to punch. Everybody deserved to punch in the nose except Denny Hamlin. He deserved to throw a punch. But Joey Logano deserved to get punched in the nose for what he did after the race. Ricky deserved to get punched in the nose for what he did to cause that caution. And Austin deserved to get punched in the nose for wrecking the 22. And Hamlin.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, but to
and
start
I'll
all
even
that,
throw in
I've been waiting. I can't give one this week because I've been waiting
one too.
to give that hack of the week.
I will throw a hack of the week, punch in the nose, into that Richmond thing. His dumbass crew guy.
Oh, yeah, I loved it. I didn't even see this happen.
I showed Dawson this on the bus. I texted you about it when it happened, and we were on the bus watching the end of the race when the Xfinity race was getting rained out the other day. And but Austin Dillon's crew guy running up and punching his driver so hard in the chest after the win that he's doubled over in pain going to collect the flag. Hit him so hard in the chest that he about damn near killed him. I mean, what are you doing as a crew guy? Like, you walked up to your star athlete and hit him so hard you damaged him. As a human being, you hurt him. And he's supposed to go out there and drive your damn race cars. This is the first race you've had speed, and it's carried over a little bit into Michigan, so you're going to injure your damn driver when you're finally getting a win for the first time that year. Like, dude, what are you doing? That's so dumb. I mean, imagine if Travis walked off the stage and I just, like, popped him right in the chest. Like, good job, man. Like, I'd be fired immediately. I'd gotten fired immediately.
Oh, no.
You just can't be doing stuff like that, man. Come on.
Oh, man. That's a good one. That's another good stat I wanted to bring up is Ryan Preece. Denny Hamlin talking about Corey LaJoie not doing himself any favors. Ryan Preece is also not doing himself any favors with being involved in wrecks with 10 to go. Whether they be 100% on him or involved with someone else, it doesn't matter. You're getting yourself in these situations. He has had 6 wrecks within 10 to go that have caused NASCAR overtimes, I think, since he started back in next gen racing. And that's just about 6 too many.
Yeah. Like, you can be on one every now and then, but you're like the most consistent partner in that
That's
dance.
just a tough scene for Ryan Preece. So he can also get a hack of the week for messing up and causing so much controversy in all these finishes anyways.
Yeah.
Richmond was
Even
not
though
his
the
fault.
Richmond one,
Richmond
was the only one that I can remember off the top of my head was not at least partly his fault. And who knows? Maybe there was some sort of thing that was going on between him and Ricky already earlier in that couple laps.
Well, you're a hack
that
for
we
getting
didn't
involved
see.
with something with Ricky because you know he's going to wreck you. So.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, just racing anywhere within 10 feet of Ricky Stenhouse
golly.
is a bad idea. I mean, I love that they're even talking about it on the podcast. Like Denny's saying, we got to have a conversation with Ricky. Like, dude, just finish the damn race. Like, what are we doing, man?
I love that
2 laps to go. You should not be wrecking with somebody you're not even racing for position.
I love that his excuse was his guys get a bonus for a top 15, which is great, but he was racing a guy that wasn't in 15th, and now he's destroyed a race car and gave his guys extra work and no bonus. So now they got no bonus and a tore-up $250,000 race car. Just a boneheaded move all the way around.
Yeah. That's definitely true. Just all the way around, dumbass stuff that just doesn't need to be happening.
Need to go down. Well, like me and you back in the day on NASCAR Heat, fucking trying to race each other. Both wrecks.
Oh, throwing you down into the inside wall at Atlanta.
Ricky and him, that looks like something we'd have done. And then Austin Dillon cleaning out first and third looks something we'd have done.
Oh, without a doubt. Like, man, I could pick up 5 more spots in this race if I just wreck somebody for nothing.
If you just don't let off, you could pass a lot of guys. Because all you got to do is bounce off of them, especially in this car. Just bounce off. It's not going to hurt your car. Just bounce off of them.
Absolutely. What are we doing? This is like bumper cars. NASCAR, you can hit people.
It's a hell of a way to race if you don't give a fuck.
It really is. Golly.
Anyways.
So, we've got 2 races left in this regular season. 2 races left.
And we don't know what the playoffs look like yet. And won't know till Wednesday, apparently. Or probably Thursday.
Yeah, well, we don't know what the bottom of it looks like, but we sure as shit know what the top of it looks like. And right now, Reddick just finally overtook everybody for the points lead for the regular season championship.
His first ever points lead in his Cup career, which is cool.
Which is awesome to see it. Chase is only 10 points behind him. Denny's 28, and
32.
Kyle Larson is 32. And I'd say Ryan Blaney's too far outside of there. You'd have to expect 4 different guys to have problems all in the next 2 weeks. So we're talking the top 4 right now.
Just imagine how cool this would be if this was natural and the top 4 raced all the way to the end of the year.
Well, you know what's even cooler on top of it? Chase Elliott's having such an old school damn NASCAR season right now. He's got 1 win in the bank, and you're looking at a guy that's only 10 points away from having the regular season championship. I mean, that's old school as all hell.
You could say the same
that's
thing,
running
I feel like,
consistently.
about Reddick. Reddick has the most... Reddick has the biggest gap from top 10s to the next person since Carl Edwards in 2011. I think there's the next closest person, or the next closest people that are tied is like 5 away from him in top 10s, 4 or 5. That's the biggest gap that there's been a guy since Carl Edwards in 2011.
Damn.
So he's having
just
that
looking at those 4
year. He's gave away a lot of wins. He should have more than 2 wins, but he's running. Somebody made a great point the other day. Reddick's giving away a lot of wins, but when he's not like Denny and he's not like Larson, where like if he gives away a win, he ends up being on a hauler. When he gives away a win, he still finishes second or third.
Second or third.
I mean, you don't get an average finish of 3.26 without that. You know what I mean?
He's got 11 top 5s. and 2 wins, 2 poles, and 3 stage wins. Now, the only stat there that he is the greatest on out of the 4 is in the top 5 realm.
Maybe that top 10 stat was a top 5 stat. I can't remember, but either way.
Well, top 10, he's got 11 top 5s, but you got Denny and Larson both having 9. It doesn't show me top 10s on this NASCAR app because the NASCAR app's a bunch of horseshit.
Then it might be top 10s because I think he has like 4 more.
I'm sure it is top 10s. So that's where it really starts to come in. Just like you said, if he doesn't finish a race, it's not like he's going home 32nd and he wrecked out. He's going home still in the top 5 to top 10. He just has consistency, and Chase is the same way. Chase only has 7 top 5s. But the fact that he has been around every single time for the end of these races is the reason why he's doing so.
And Chase
well.
had what, like 19 or 20 top 10s in a row or something like that.
Yeah, something crazy. So you're just looking at two guys that are super close and 2 guys that aren't far behind them, all racing for the regular season points lead. And it's going to be a hellacious battle all the way to the end because, I mean, you got the chaos that is Daytona next week. And then you got, I mean, it could not be 2 more different tracks. You got Chaos Daytona, full throttle, anything could happen, wrecks every time. Go into Darlington where it's skill-based and really difficult. And it's all about track position and your ability to drive a race car.
I wanted to throw this out there. 3 of the best in the next gen at Darlington is Kyle Larson, Denny Hamlin, and Tyler Reddick.
Yes, absolutely. And you could definitely see, and Chase has got a almost win there. If he's got a win there, I can't remember it was, but he's got a couple other races where he did extremely well there too. So he's going to be running in the top 10 all day. You'd have to imagine. Yeah. So, Brandy, if you're still listening at an hour and 21 minutes in, definitely those top 4 guys are who I would be looking
for
at
Darlington,
as the
not
race
Daytona.
Winners. For Darlington, yes.
Daytona
is just that I just don't even know what to say about Daytona because it's unfortunately become a fuel mileage track position race.
Yep.
So I don't really know what to tell you about that.
I think Brad Keselowski pushes the 17 across the line again.
Damn, that's a bold pick right there.
That's my pick. I won 2 bets this weekend too that were bold.
Nice. What were
Kyle
they?
Busch top 10. Should have bet him top 5 since he got a top 5. And I had a parlay with Buescher and Keselowski both finishing top 10.
Damn. There you go. Not bad at all. I didn't make any bets this week.
I was proud of that.
I said I would, and I never did. But when it comes to Daytona, I think the one person that you're going to look at for throwing Hail Marys is going to be Bubba Wallace. He knows that he's good there. So he's definitely going to try to shoot for a wild
You're going
to
need to pick the guys that are desperate for a win to win this race.
Yes.
Because they're going to do whatever it takes to win the race. Bubba Wallace, Chris Buescher, McDowell,
Ty Gibbs.
Ross Chastain is crazy. He'll do anything.
Kyle Busch. Kyle Busch is the one that I would probably avoid, though, because he doesn't have the stats to back up that he can get the win.
I wouldn't bet Kyle Busch here.
I think, unfortunately enough, I think Bubba Wallace is my favorite because he's the one guy that stands out among that.
I love him.
He's the one guy that stands out amongst that group of guys we just listed that consistently does phenomenal at Daytona specifically, that also desperately needs the win. And he's definitely going to be they have this date circled as we can win this race, and that's what we're going to try to do.
Yep.
Because if you're trying to race for stage points at Daytona, you can get woefully disappointed by just making one bad move at the end of the stage and missing out on all of them, and you don't get to win the race. So they're going to be doing everything they can to win this race. I think that's the guy that I'm looking at as Bubba Wallace.
I'm right there with you. I'm not saying it. I'm right there with you.
Yeah, and you're very right. Michael McDowell, he's won at Daytona already. He's proven that he can do it. So possibility he goes out there and does something wild and crazy.
Is it possible to bet Austin Dillon because he's going to go do something wild and crazy to try to prove a point and get in the playoffs?
That's my response to that. Eric Amarola is not in this race, so we don't have to worry about it.
Thank God.
But I mean, It's Daytona. This is one of those times where you're not worried about betting to win a shitload of money because you spread it out a lot. You're just basically picking a couple guys. I wouldn't put a ton of money on this race. I would just put probably a nice solid bet down on someone mid-tier. Maybe a few top 10 bets on some of the mid-tier guys that are going to have plus
couple
money.
Top 10 parlays.
That's
and
basically where you're going to make
bets.
your money here. Yeah, where you're going to make your money here today or on Daytona is strictly avoiding the favorites because their odds are going to be low and just shooting for some wild bets on the back end. Top 10s, maybe a top 5 bet, but Bubba Wallace is definitely the one that if I'm going to place a winner bet because his odds are going to be high, I think he could do it, that would be the one I'd do.
I'm right there with you.
So we'll see. We shall see.
Well, that might wrap us up.
I think so.
I made it through the end.
It was
here.
good to get back to it.
I think a 30-minute stretch is my longest stretch. I made it the whole time. So
there you go. Well, we made it to an hour and 25 minutes. So before Dawson falls out on us again, you can follow me at Caleb Conrady across the board at all places, everywhere but home.
Dawson Edwards Music on everything. Raise Rowdy Racing, Raise Rowdy Nikki T, and Raise Rowdy Matt Burrell.
Heck yeah. And everybody, just make sure that you go on to Facebook and donate to Dawson's GoFundMe. He has started one up to help out RCR getting some better lawyers for this appeals process.
Yeah, buddy.
He just did not. He was really not a fan of them manipulating the playoffs the way that they did, so he's really trying to undo it right now. So go ahead and take a look at that. It's called 3 for Not Quite Dale. And you'll find that everywhere on all of his socials. But anyway, y'all, thank you for listening for an hour and a half. We appreciate it. We will talk to y'all later. Here's hoping next week works out, but we'll keep you updated. Love you. We'll talk to y'all after a while.